Jeff Carlson on the business side of his fine art prints project. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Factor. Visit factormeals.com/MacVoices50 and use the code MacVoices50 to get 50% off. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, our conversation with Jeff Carlson turns from the creative side of his fine art prints project to the business side. Jeff talks about what it takes to actually sell the photos and get them to you so you can enjoy them. Let's let Jeff do the talking. So let's take off our pretentious caps and talk now about the business of delivering these. As to getting, I mean, you've talked about, making the selections for the paper and all. But how do you go? Who did you contract with? How are you going about getting them printed? The distribution, the setting up the online store. I mean, all of those things, because there's a definitely a faction of our audience that is going to be interested in those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. So, realized that I came into this thinking, oh, this will be easy because we're now in an age where you can just, sell anything anywhere. And they're turnkey operations everywhere. And of course, dear reader, it was not that, because I found myself just doing a lot of research on different, shopping apps and websites. So for me personally, several years ago, I think we probably talked about this. I self-published a book on, oh my God, what is it called? It was an HDR program from Skylum that I just blanked on. But basically, I self-published a book and set that up on a Squarespace site, I think, and just used that mechanism to sell. So part of that was having a storefront through them, and then also having a Stripe. I almost said Square, a Stripe account. So Stripe handles, like the actual collecting of money and distribution of money, all that. That project was fine, but then it got outdated and it wasn't worth updating. So that just sort of sat dormant. And I was like, oh, well, I already have the mechanism to sell, things. So I'll just use that. And it turns out things have changed in the 4 or 5 years since then. And I could have reactivated that, but it would have been a lot more work than I was interested in doing. And so what I ended up doing was going through Shopify. And Shopify had a really good setup that was a balance of, we can do a lot of this because you're not a store programmer, and yet giving me some, a whole lot of options for building the website and customizing it and all of that. The other option was WordPress, because my jeffcarlson.com site is hosted at wordpress.com. And they have this whole, I think it's called WooCommerce. But in my research for that, it looked like that's better if you really know what you're doing. If you're building out a full-fledged, I'm going to sell things business all the time kind of a site. And some of it too was cost. That was a little bit more expensive. The Squarespace one, I would have had to reactivate that. That would have been a little bit more expensive. And so the Shopify plan worked out in a good sweet spot for what I'm intending to do. And part of this too is I am intentionally limiting this because this is, really just about autumn. And so, once fall is over, I'm going to turn off the site, unless, there's some massive, a year-long demand or whatever. But again, this is kind of an experiment to see how this goes. So I ended up going with Shopify, and although it took a while to build the site and make sure I have all the options set and all of that, it for the most part has been very easy in terms of somebody who like I've never built a shop before other than sort of tagging on to some of those Squarespace features at one point. So, thinking about like how the products are presented. Do I want them all on one page? And even though Shopify is really set up so that if I wanted to, sell hundreds of different things, it could do that. How do I just really focus on what I'm selling, which ends up being basically 4 packs of 3 5x7 prints. So there's 6 images in total, and then I have like a pack of verticals, a pack of horizontal images, and then there's one that is specifically, it's 3 of those that are focused on water, and then 3 of those that are focused on trees. And so being able to group those together to make it as easy as possible. So somebody doesn't have to be like, okay, well, I like this one and I like that one. Like trying to remove as much friction as possible, having 4 different items, and then you can do, singles if you want. But I found that it was not difficult and only slightly time consuming for somebody who's never done this before to do it through Shopify. So that's what I ended up going with.
Interesting. Because, I love what you said at the beginning. Everybody wants you to believe that, oh yeah, it's a piece of cake. You build the widget and we'll handle the rest. And it's like, yeah, okay. But if you're going to make it a reflection of you and have it exactly the way you want, in fact, even if you don't need it to be a reflection of you, there's still work to be done.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, I mean, honestly, compare this to like 10 years ago, maybe longer. Like, I think if I had to build some sort of e-commerce thing in the past, I probably wouldn't do it because it would just be too difficult. So, I mean, I fully appreciate that we are in a time now where there are companies who are like, no, we know people want to sell things. And we're going to make that possible. Another possibility was like going through Etsy, but Etsy just seems like such a giant market that I think it would be difficult to be seen. And I mean, maybe that might be a problem that I've imposed upon myself, and not trying to, sell this to everybody in the world. Because I mean, yeah, it would be great for everybody in the world to buy this, but I don't know. It just seems like it's that idea. I'm going to go back to something that we touched on earlier. Years ago, I set up an account with a site that would do photo prints. And honestly, I can't remember the name of the site because it's been a while. But basically the idea was you set up your little storefront and you upload your images, and then they handle the rest. And if somebody wants a 11 by 19 print, then they order it and it gets printed and sent, and like you don't have to do anything. And I mean, I must have paid for that for like 4 years of an annual fee, thinking, all right, well, next year is going to be the year. And I don't think I sold more than like maybe 5 things over that whole time. And I blamed myself because I was like, all right, like the mechanism is there, but I just haven't done the marketing for it. And I think that's legitimate, but it was that thought of, here's a thing that, because it exists, everybody on the internet can get to it, and therefore my customer base is unlimited, right? That's what they all want you to think. And I knew that wasn't the right approach for this. This is really, again, this is an experiment, but this is really focused on the people who know of me or know somebody who knows me, or have run across my work and know, oh yeah, Jeff's the guy that talks a whole lot about autumn leaves, and his Instagram starts filling up with leaf shots around late September, October. Like he obviously likes it, and oh look, he makes these really pretty prints, and oh right, he's a photographer, and oh right, da 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 da. So you have sort of a, I don't know, like a self-imposed filter that hopefully would encourage more people to actually buy, rather than just, oh, I've been looking at Etsy for an hour and I've seen, 600 different things and I don't remember anything from it because I've just been browsing. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Listen, I'm sure I'm going to get emails from the folks that love Etsy, but Etsy just, you're right.
It's good, yeah.
Unless I have a search term, it's crazy. It's all but impossible to find anything.
Yeah.
But if I say I want a T-shirt from Alcatraz, okay, then it's going to show me T-shirts with an Alcatraz theme. Mm-hmm. And that's great. That's what I'm looking for. But if I just go in and start paging through and have no idea of what I'm looking for or why I'm even there, I mean, it's worse than doom scrolling on Facebook. It's crazy. So, and it's even worse because you find things that you might spend money on that you in no other world would you ever think of them, let alone decide to buy them. So,
yeah, exactly. But, I mean, well, I was just going to say also, like, I absolutely respect people who have Etsy shops, because the people that I know who do that, like, they have sort of an ongoing creative collection of things, like maybe they sell, they make jewelry or, T-shirts and things like that. And I think also, like, they're people who this is a full side business for them, or maybe, main business for them. And I feel like I'm just kind of dipping my toes in. Maybe Etsy is like the solution next year, but for this, for the I don't know, the limit of what I'm trying to do here, it just seemed like it was too much. So, maybe I'm self-limiting. Maybe, that will turn out to be a poor business decision. But, you have to make choices. And I think part of what we're talking about here too is, again, going back to the beginning, is actually doing it. Because I spent 3 years, 4 years thinking about, oh yeah, I got to do this. And then showed up too late and then didn't do it and felt bad about not doing it. And so at some point you just have to say, look, I'm going to do this. This is my choice, and go. Which is, I mean, that was tough for me. And I think it's tough for a lot of people too.
Well, it is. And that's another part of this that I really love, that you're trying something, that you're outside your comfort zone. I mean, I know you're constantly experimenting with new photo techniques and new gear and all that. This is something that is way outside your comfort zone, just like self-publishing the Luminar book was, or Skylum book, excuse me. Luminar I don't know if that was the program, but the Skylum book.
No, it was something HDR, Aurora HDR. That's what it was. Aurora HDR.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, you tried it, and was it for you? Maybe not, or maybe you just will tuck those lessons away somewhere and bring them out at another time. But I know I do it too. I've done it where there are things that I want to do with MacVoices or with the website, and I put them on a list and they never get done, and then I kick myself 6 months later when I see somebody else do something like it, and thought, darn, I could have done it first, or I should have done it already. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. Talk about distribution for just a second. So I hit the button, I order your prints. What happens?
Yes. I do a little dance.
Didn't need to know that.
Yay! These are just getting sent through U.S. mail, but I'm doing the printing. So I have an Epson P600 that I bought a few years ago. Actually, our friend Rick LePage, who's a fantastic photographer. He used to be editor of Macworld, and he was like, "Dude, you gotta print your photos." And I was like, "Oh, like who would want to print photos? Come on, it's like antiquated." And really, turned my head around on no, really, like you want to be a better photographer, it helps to print your photos. And so I have this printer. I have I ordered the paper. They come in these 5x7 sheets, and so an order comes in, I print them off and I package them up. Did I bring the packaging? No, I didn't bring the packaging. Basically, and then I have like a cardboard mailer. They go into little inserts. There's a little message inside, and a little stiff cardboard mailer. And I am just using. There's a website called Pirate Ship that does shipping. That Glenn Fleischman turned me on to. That basically, like you go through them, you get some discount because of I don't know, deals that they have with the Postal Service or UPS or FedEx. And I print out a label and just throw it in the mail. And then and after, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, then you get that in just the regular mail. And there it is. So, I mean, it's, going back to that other company where everything was just sort of handled for you. That's also appealing. But it just makes more sense for me to do the printing and do the packaging. It gives me the opportunity also to sign the prints and package them up. And again, let's go back into the world of pretentiousness here. I think that also adds to the experiment, the experiment and the experience, because these are things that I have had my hands on, that I have made, that I've printed off and checked to make sure that, it actually looks good. There's no flaws or anything, packaged it up and sent it off rather than just, faceless machine somewhere. Now, if you were going to do a bigger print, then I would go through Bay Photo because my printer can only do up to 13 by 19. And, I've used Bay Photo in the past, and that would be a different thing, but most likely, depending on, where you are, I would have that print made, delivered to me so I could sign it and do all of that. So, again, like it's that tactile experience of, yes, this is a print that's on nice paper, but this was printed by the artist. And, I think that also kind of has a little bit of a cachet, and that it's coming from me. It's not just, I clicked a button and, 50 of these were shot off of a printer somewhere in who knows where. Right. So like, that's also kind of part of the experience of this too. And for me, I like the experience of it because then I get to, like make this and send it. Like this is a thing I created, which again, like sounds slightly pretentious, but it's also like makes me feel really good because I did create this from I didn't make the ink. I didn't make the paper, but I chose the paper. And like, I don't know, there's just like a neat sense of creative ownership that I'm really liking about this project as a whole.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Factor. Visit factor.com/MacVoices50 to get 50% off. If you're looking for something new and exciting for dinner this fall, but don't have the time to go to the grocery store, then come home and chop, prep, and then clean up, you need to know about Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Factor lets you choose from over 34 weekly flavor-packed, fresh, never-frozen meals ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Just pick your meals and they show up at your door, fresh and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Looking for calorie-conscious options during the busy season? Try delicious dietitian-approved calorie-smart meals with around or less than 550 calories per serving. And with Factor, you can feel good about what you're eating. Factor is dedicated to sustainability. They offset 100% of their delivery emissions, source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices, and feature sustainably sourced seafood in their meals. Right now, head to factormeals.com/MacVoices50 and use the code MacVoices50 to get 50% off. That's code MacVoices50 at factormeals.com/MacVoices50 to get 50% off. Thanks to Factor for their support of MacVoices. So these are artisan fine art prints.
They are.
That are being created by the artist, and you're dealing directly with the artist. And that also makes, I mean, there has to be some level of automated interaction as far as the actual commerce goes. But the people can and do interact with you. And you're unique because you have multiple ways that folks can interact with you. You have 2 photography-oriented podcasts. You're a technology author, and so you're constantly interacting that way. In some ways that can probably be a little intimidating to some people. That, oh my God, I'm emailing Jeff Carlson, and I knew you were going to laugh. But there is no question. There's that factor because you have a certain degree of notoriety. You definitely have an extremely high degree of credibility, and that means that poor little picture takers like me might say, "Well, gee, I hate to bother Jeff with something like this, but I'd really like to know." So, I think it's great, Jeff. I'm really excited for you as to how this all is going to play out. I'll be anxious to see what happens.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it so far. The idea is, if this is a successful experiment, then I will do it again next year with a whole new set of prints. And so, I'm not like artificially, limiting the numbers of these. But it's, like once I'm done with these this year, like this is the 2023 collection, and the 2024 collection will be another set of images, that I'm either going to, make this autumn or, come from my library. So that's, that too is kind of the fun of it, of like, I get to be a creator and a salesperson, but it's more than just, hey, I took a neat picture and I put it on Instagram. Isn't that great? And then it's forgotten, almost immediately. And as a artist, as a photographer, as someone who is putting effort into making these things, it's nice to see them go somewhere beyond just my hard drive, or just beyond a big scrolling Facebook interface. And that right there is rewarding. And it would also be rewarding to have lots of people buy it and give me money. So, that's also rewarding.
I love the honesty. But
gotta be honest, right?
Sure. But again, along with that, everything you've said about the process of creation, I mean, you're creative. And so that all means a lot to you. And if anybody out there has a creative bent, even a little bit, they're going to appreciate, what we're talking about. And if you don't, then they're just pretty pictures, and you can still get great, pretty pictures. So, walk us through all the specifics. The I know you said jeffcarlson.com obviously is the website. Is it a link off of that, or is it actually embedded there?
Yeah. So it's actually at jeffcarlson.myshopify.com. I could have set up a custom domain for this, but I was like, all right, this is just a limited time experiment. So, but if you go to jeffcarlson.com, which is where I have sort of everything that I do, it's very prominent. But you want to go directly to it. It's jeffcarlson.com jeffcarlson.myshopify.com, and that will take you to the storefront.
Perfect. And the pricing, once again, is?
Okay. And so each pack, which includes 3 5x7 prints, is $50. I have it set up so that any order over $45 has free shipping. So you can either, buy the packs and have them ship free, or you can buy individual prints for $20 each. If you just, say, I just really like just this one. And then there's also a form at the bottom. So you can email me that if you're like, you know what, I do like this, but I would like it bigger because I have the perfect spot on my wall in this room, then you can send an email to me. And I have I think 4 different sizes and prices all set up. But, again, like I said, when you get into bigger prints, it can either be, all right, here's what I've got. And, here are these sizes and I've priced them out and it's on the same kind of paper. Or if you want to talk about a metal print or something, bigger, if you want to do custom framing and all that stuff, then that becomes a conversation. So, and I'm trying to think if there's any other details. I mean, I've tried to keep this very streamlined and specific so that when you do go there, you're like, wow, I really love these shots that all have water in them and the fall colors. I'm just going to order this and boom. So that's the ideal. We'll see how it goes.
Jeff, thank you for sharing this, this project with us, and not just the project itself, but all the backstory too. Again, we joked at the beginning of the show about it being inspirational, but I think it's inspirational to me in a lot of different ways. I hope it's inspirational to other people to either get out and do a project of your own, whether you set up a Shopify link or whatever, but just do something, try something. And if it works, great. And if not, go and try the next thing. We have all this great, amazing technology. And so many times I think we get stuck in too many ruts and don't experiment with the capabilities we have at our command. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Little editorializing on my part.
No. I mean, I 100% agree. And that's why we do this stuff.
Exactly. So, folks, jeffcarlson.com, go and check it out. You get a link to Jeff's Shopify page. Go and check out these prints because they are absolutely gorgeous. It makes me... Jeff was wrong about one thing. Here in Pennsylvania, the leaves haven't quite started to change just yet en masse. So I'm primed for fall because of Jeff.
Excellent.
Jeff, thanks again. It's great to see you.
Again, always happy to be here.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Get out there and do something. Thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.